Hi everyone, for those who don't know me, my name is Kerri Parker and this is going to be my blog. I've never blogged before in my life, this is my first one. Normally over the years I choose what people see when it comes to me in social media. I don't put a lot of my feelings out there a lot of the time. I'm quite a dark horse in that respect, so this is quite a challenge for me to put my feelings out there. Obviously the people who are supporting me, the people who don't know me, to the haters, everything really. It's quite hard for me to do this, but I figure if someone else is suffering from a brain tumour or someone has a friend or family member who's suffering from one, then hopefully this video blog might help with what they're going through, might help them identify the feelings they're having or just how to cope with it, and just give them a little bit of positivity that everything's going to be okay. So that's why I've set up my blog, and I hope it works. I hope I can help just one person from this, and then it'll all be worthwhile. Plus it gives my friends and my family overseas and people like that just a chance to see what I'm going through and sort of follow this journey with me, even though it may not be a very nice one at times. So people say to me, what were your symptoms? How did you get diagnosed with a brain tumour? It's crazy really. I had no symptoms, not one. So one day you're happily living your life, you think all is good, and then next day, bam, you have a brain tumour. That's how it worked with me. Some people have headaches, seizures, all these things. Well, I'm glad I didn't have any of that. At least then it would have been a nice warning on what was to come, rather than it just being a complete surprise. So how did we find out that I had a brain tumour? I was on holiday in Egypt, and I wasn't very well when I was out there. You catch a lot of bugs out there and viruses. I had a lot of mosquito bites. I don't know if it was related to that. I was just tired. I had migraines, which I never get. I never get headaches, and they were quite bad. I was feeling really sick with them. Got back to England with just a splitting headache, but then it went away for a couple of days. But then I just still felt tired and ill, and I had a really bad fever. The light hurt my eyes, so I went to the doctor, who did some just temperature checks, things like that, and they said they think I had the onset of meningitis. So to just go home for a couple of days, see if it gets any worse, and if it does, go back to A&E. They made an appointment for 2 days later for me. Got home, was still really feverish, had a lot of headaches, my eyes still hurt to look at the light, and then I got a really stiff neck, so I thought, okay, this is probably meningitis. The next day my spine was absolute agony. I was bent over, I couldn't stand up straight, so we went to the doctors, and just before I went to the doctors I had a really hot bath, which gave me a heat rash, and of course I assumed it was a meningitis rash, so we rang the doctor and said, look, we've come out in a rash, should I just go straight to A&E? And the doctor said yeah. So A&E were waiting for me. They thought I had meningitis. They put me straight onto the critical care ward. They examined me. I had a fever, stiff neck, headaches and everything. And then they pumped me full of antivirals and antibacterial drugs because they didn't know which type of meningitis it was. So they were treating me for both. I spent a night on the critical care ward. And then the next day they just happened to move me to the neurology ward, where a lot of people have had seizures and things like that. That's why they go straight in there, just because of the headaches I was having. I must have had about 30 IV bags a day of antibacterial and antiviral drugs to continue to treat the meningitis for about 2 days before they could test me for it. So I was just constant. Every half an hour they were just changing drips, and I mean I was getting pretty annoyed because I wasn't feeling any better, but I just thought they're treating me. I'm in the safest place I can be. And then a couple of neurologists saw me. Didn't say anything. Everyone thought it was meningitis. Couldn't have a lumbar puncture the next day, so I had 2 more days on antivirals, antibacterial drugs. They couldn't do the tests for meningitis for a couple of days, so I had just continued having all of the drips and a couple of days on the neurology ward. I was just surrounded by old ladies who had had seizures and didn't know where they were or who they were. It was quite horrible to see. It was really sad to be on that ward. I got really good care, and I just thought, well, they're treating me for meningitis and I'll be going home soon. They couldn't do my lumbar puncture for 2 days. I'm not sure why. They're just very, very busy. So they did a CT scan, I think on day 3 when I came in. Did a CT scan. And they turned around and said to me, we found a mass on your brain. And to them it wasn't clear what this could be. So they just thought it was possible meningitis. It spreads to your brain, it affects your spinal cord, it affects your brain, everything like that. So I just assumed it was inflammation just from the virus, and I was really, really glad that they were continuing to treat me. I had a lumbar puncture the next morning, but it was quite a complex procedure because she couldn't get any spinal fluid, which was fun. I sat for an hour, curled up in the fetal position. I then spent time bent over a desk, bent over a pillow. She tried every single vertebrae at the bottom of my spine. She couldn't get anything. It was absolutely agony. She was just poking around with a needle for about an hour and a half in total. I didn't get anything, didn't even hit the spinal cord. That was the most agonising experience of my life. The places she was numbing, it wasn't working. She was hitting nerve pockets. My legs were shaking. It was just horrible. I never want to go through that again. So then they took me off an MRI so they could look more at the mass on my brain. And then later that night I had another lumbar puncture, and I was really adamant that I didn't want this doing after how the lady done it in the day. It just hurt too bad, but I had a really amazing doctor come along and do it. He took 2 minutes and he got 3 little vials of spinal fluid. It just didn't hurt at all. And I was thinking, why the hell could I not have had you first? Because it was just so much easier, and the woman's put me off for life. That's how it is, I suppose. So I then thought, well, at least I know now it's bacterial or viral meningitis. I can go home. I started to feel so much better because of all the antivirals they were plugging me into my veins. Headaches were going. I had some painkillers for them. Didn't feel tired anymore. I felt really good and just wanted to go home. And then the next morning, my sister came to visit with my mum, and the neurologist seemed to be avoiding me all morning. I thought he was going to come over to me when I was having breakfast, and he didn't. And what he was obviously doing is he was waiting for my mum to arrive at lunchtime. And I kept thinking, why is he not coming over to speak to me? This is really, really either rude of him, or has he forgotten about me? And I kept asking, is he coming to speak to me? And they said, yeah, he's going to come speak to you. He's just a bit busy at the moment. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll just wait. And then my mum and sister turned up, and he said, okay, I've got your results now. Will you come with me? And we were sort of thinking, okay, why can't you tell me here at my bed? I didn't really think anything of it though. I guess the alarm bell should have been ringing, thinking, what the hell is he going to tell me? Why does he have to take me into this little room off the side of the ward with my mum to tell me that I've got meningitis? It was quite sad. He just sat me down, and there's me just making jokes as usual. It's the sort of person that I am. I was like, oh, you look very serious. Am I dying or something? And he just turned around and he said, well, you don't have meningitis. And I was like, okay, then I can go home. And he said, well, the MRIs have found a brain tumour. Now, when someone tells you those words, it's just, I don't know, it's really hard to explain how I felt. When he told me that, I thought, well, that's it, I'm done. As soon as I heard those words, I thought, well, that's it for me. I'm not going to survive this. He's telling me that I've got a few years to live or something, I don't know. But that was really just awful. But I didn't really have time to think about me, because when he told me, I just looked at my mum, and she just did this thing where her bottom lip just wobbled and she started crying, and I just had to just be strong for her. I couldn't even think about me in that moment. So I just thought, okay, I've got to be strong for my mummy, because she's always so strong for me. And he said, everything I tell you in the next half an hour you're not going to remember. I'm going to have to tell you it 1,000 times over, and that's not true at all. I remember every single word, every expression on his face that he said to me that day. He told me the tumour that they thought it was. It turned out not to be that in the end, when I saw the specialist. But he said, you've got a low-grade astrocytoma in your right frontal lobe. It's obviously been found by accident. And I didn't really know what to do with that. We didn't know. I knew that type. He told me that type was cancerous, but we didn't know if it was cancer or not until we were going to see the neurosurgeon. And I'm scratching my tumour, so we didn't know what it was going to be. And I didn't. He said, "What questions do you have?" And I said, "Am I going to die?" He said, "No." I said, "I don't know how to word this. This is so politically incorrect, but I have no way of saying this, but am I going to be brain damaged? Am I going to be retarded from this?" And he said, no. He said, not at all. He said, where it is in your brain will affect your mood and things like that. It will affect your inhibitions. It will affect how you respond to certain people and situations. You can be very aggressive. You can basically not take any crap off anyone. If you've got a problem with someone, they're going to know about it. And I just thought this is hilarious, so I tried to lighten the situation by making jokes, saying, okay, so if I'm allowed to be rude with no inhibitions, I can run naked down the street telling everyone to, F off. I just thought that's hilarious, so I was just making jokes to try and lighten the situation. I think the neurologist really appreciated that. He said everyone that has come along and been told they've got a brain tumour, they don't make jokes. They're not trying to make people smile and cheer people up. Apparently they scream, they shout, they call him a liar. They just deny it. They say it's not happening. You need to check again. You need to double check. You need to call him every name under the sun. That's not going to get anywhere. I said, you found it. I'm grateful. What do we do next? That was just my attitude from the start. Is, well, where do we go from here? He said the only thing that alerted him to the fact that I might have a brain tumour is when they were doing. I mean, I saw about 5 neurologists, and he was a young guy, and he was the only one that spotted this. For some reason, I had something in the tone of my arm. So when he was coming along with his little needle and he's pricking all over my face, and he's pricking my feet and my arms and my legs and my ankles and my hands, he's saying, can you feel this? I had to just touch your nose, to close your eye, touch his nose. I had to follow his finger. You have to move your arms and do all these things. And he was saying things like, can you do that and do this with your left hand? And I couldn't do some of them because I had 2 massive cannulas stuck in my arm, but I was like, trying. But when he twisted my arm, and he twisted it like that, he felt it catch. So whilst it's normally really floppy and it goes from side to side as such, he felt it sort of catch halfway and then twist again. So that's what alerted him to the fact that there might be something going on in my right frontal lobe. And that's it. That's the only symptom I had, was one surgeon, well, not even a surgeon, a neurologist, just a doctor happened to find this one tiny, tiny little thing that 4 other people had missed. And because of that, he did the MRI. And I'm just so grateful to this guy, Will Brown at the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital. Thank you. You effectively saved my life. I'm so grateful, because had there been any other turn of events, had I had my lumbar puncture on the first day and they admitted meningitis, I would have gone home. They would have sent me home. I wouldn't have found this. But I feel just so, so unbelievably lucky that, I don't know, someone up there obviously really likes me, which is nice. Because any other sequence that they would have done these events in, had they not done the CT scan, had they not done the MRI, any other ward, if I hadn't been put on a neurology ward, I wouldn't have come across this doctor. He wouldn't have treated me, he wouldn't have seen this. So I'm just the luckiest girl in the world right now. Because of where it is in my brain, it's about 4 centimetres, so I have a rule on me, I don't know, about this big, maybe, right there. And because of where it is in my brain, in your right frontal lobe, all you have is space. It sounds like I'm an airhead, right? But no, I mean, you've got your central nervous system, you've got all the other areas for speech, movement, everything like that. I think at the back there, I can't remember. So had it been this size anywhere else, I would have known about it. I would have had headaches, I would have had seizures, I would have had problems moving, weakness in either side. But because of where it is, there was just no symptoms at all. It would have grown to the size of an orange before it would have hit something that would have told me that, okay, you've got a brain tumour. And because of that, I'm so lucky because it's grade 2 at the moment. There's 4 grades of brain tumour, 1, 2, 3 and 4 obviously. And had it gone to grade 3 or 4, it would have been much more complicated to treat. Might have even been untreatable. The statistics of it are terrifying. I'm so glad that I was diagnosed early, because if not, I wouldn't have the hope that I have now and the positivity that it's going to get treated, because when you look at brain tumour statistics, it's the #1 killer of all cancers, of anyone under 40 and children as well, more so than leukemia.